During the October provincial election, public safety was certainly front and center. And we may have had a little bit to do with that. We certainly did our part in raising the profile of the issues. And the outcome of that election has definitely had an impact on our provincial government and its priorities. That includes adding a Minister of State for Community Safety and Integrated Services. Here now to introduce our next speaker is the current Chief Operating Officer and incoming President of the Pattison Food Group, Jamie Nelson. Jamie?
Thank you, Jess. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I wanted to thank you and Clint and the entire SOS team for pulling this much-needed forum together. At the Pattison Food Group, our brands are some of the most familiar and trusted brands across our province, including Save-On Foods, Bilo Foods, Nestor's Market, Urban Fare, PriceSmart Foods, Quality Foods, Pure Pharmacies, and Choices Markets. And we are so proud to have been part of this province for 110 years. Like so many of the SOS membership, we are part of communities big and small, from Victoria to Fort Nelson. We have almost 200 retail locations in all corners of British Columbia, which means the crime and public safety issues important to SOS are also important to us, our customers, our team members, and the communities we serve. That is what drew us to join SOS and be here today. By speaking up together, SOS and its more than 130 member organizations can speak with one very loud voice. And I think that voice has been heard by the Premier and his government. The creation of a Minister of State to work on these important issues is a good sign, but even more important will be the results, and these can only be achieved by all of us working together. Joining us today is the Minister of State for Community Safety and Integrated Services. To many in this room, he'll be a familiar face from his work as Senior Officer with the Vancouver Police Department, and a volunteer with Covenant House, Big Brothers, and Success. Please welcome British Columbia's Minister of State for Community Safety and Integrated Services, the Honourable Terry Young.
Thank you, Jamie. And another beautiful day in Vancouver. As Chief Palmer, I had the pleasure working with both Adam and Cash at my time at VPD. Welcome, Deputy Commissioner. And Norm, of course, lives in my riding, so it's one of my kids. It could be a nice home. First of all, I want to mirror what Chief Adam Palmer said. Vancouver is not dead. We're not dying. I mean, you look outside the window. I mean, we have issues, obviously. But it's not just Vancouver. I was part of the delegation last year with the VPD executive to San Francisco. Take a look at what they've done, and we learned from that. And it's really encouraging for me that everybody's here today. Welcoming you from the traditional territories of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. And I also want to thank SOS, Clint, and Jazz for doing this. This is important. I think I was the longest serving chair for Success. 52 years ago, we had 2 employees. And today, we're the largest social service organizations in the country. With $70 million budget. It's not going to take us 52 years. We don't have that time here, but it's encouraging to have like-minded people like yourself here. I also want to recognize all my colleagues at the BC Legislature. I think we almost have enough people in quorum today. Can you stand up, my colleagues? I know Eleanor was here. It's got to be more than 4 or 5 of you. Oh, yeah, there you go, and thank you. I think the fact that you're here today, we want the same outcomes in our communities across the province, not only in cities in Vancouver, but other cities as well. A little bit about myself. I served 30 years with the Vancouver Police Department. I want to thank the people, first responders. I know 2 of my colleagues from the other side are actually former RCMP officers. As our serving members here, I can tell you, it's not easy to leave your families in the morning to protect perfect strangers, and it's even more difficult without public support. We can't do this on our own. Your government cannot do it on our own, and we need your help and support. And make no mistake, we want to get there together. Before I start, just a little bit of background. Some of you don't know me. I was had the privilege of leading community services in Indigenous relations. So the 12 community policing center in Vancouver were under my jurisdiction, and I was very proud of what they do. They integrate advisory councils for people like Jeremy in the neighborhood and make sure that your issues are addressed. As I'm a resident of Vancouver, I get it. I know what an impact it is. It's not for police agencies to tell you what you need or the government. You need to tell us what are working and what are not working. Couple personal stories before I go, because otherwise I throw a bunch of numbers at you. You guys will fall asleep. I spent 3.5 years walking the beat in downtown Eastside. A lot of people call right here. It was a beat enforcement team. I'm sure both Adam and Cash know about it. And it's heartbreaking. I mean, seeing people who are family members who are, taking some tough turns in life and ended up on the streets. I took transit here today to be green, and it was cold. And can you imagine last night you slept at a cardboard box somewhere, and the fact that you live on the streets, you're 15 times more likely to be a victim of crime because you have no room to lock up. And I know Guy is one of our advocates for treatment and the people out there. And what a positive change you can do with the proper resources and the decisions in your life. My personal story is a friend of mine, wife used to work, they used to work at Destination BC. And his brother was down on the downtown east side, lost touch with his family for 5-6 years. And he said, Terry, if you go downtown, can you look up at my brother once in a while? I found him in a cardboard box by Pigeon Square. And over the next 2 years, I got to know him, his challenges, his relapse. He got better, he got worse. But at the end of the day, the happy ending story was the fact that he was able to find resources to get off his addiction and get off the streets and reconnect his family. So he had a family. He wasn't alone by himself. And it's not his fault sometimes. But we have to separate the consequences of crime to drug addiction. And drug addiction is a health issue. That's why, when government asks, Terry, what does it take to solve this? It's not just policing alone. It's not fair for police officers out there to do social work, mental health worker, but we need integrated services. That's where I come in. It's going to be in conjunction with the Ministry of Health, BC Housing, and poverty reduction. We need that. Also, another part is I had the privilege of serving on the board of the Covenant House Vancouver. I know CEO Deb is here. And during the campaign, I had one of my volunteers who's an SFU graduate student. And he said, oh, you involved Covenant House. You know what? I was 15 when I was sleeping on the streets. I was drug addicted. I was beaten up every other day because my parents kicked me out. I would not be here today if I didn't live at Covenant House for that 1 year. Wow, I was blown away. They're not just a bunch of dirty, smelly people that nobody wanted. They had a future. They just need the chance, and they need the resources to get there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So for 30 years, I know how it's like to feel your frustration. I mean, it's horrendous. If you're a retail operator, like on the drugs and et cetera, if your house is being used as a toilet on the front entrance, and you don't feel safe walking your neighborhood. Let me be very clear, and I said during the election time, everyone should be able to feel safe in where you work, where you live, and where you play. Nobody should be afraid to walk from your house to downtown to commute or walk to recreation. That is not the kind of Vancouver, the problems we want, and this government heard you loud and clear. And that's why I'm here today. Now, we heard about bail conditions and whatnot. I know many times, I know my colleagues over there with used to be RCMP, and many times in my career, I stayed up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I wrote a 5-page bail conditions, for suspects, and want to make sure, yes, the court system is extensive. It's not our jurisdiction provincially, but bail conditions are. So if a shoplifter shoplifted this morning at 10 o'clock, he should not be out there, hopefully, if it's a chronic offender, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon We should articulate why, and we can strengthen the bail conditions for area is restriction. If you shoplift in downtown Vancouver 12 times a week, there's no reason why you're awaiting this position that you cannot have a no-go in the area that you do crime for a living. I think it protects the people. I think that's really effective. I can't speak on behalf of Crown Counsel. I do talk to the Attorney General from time to time. I talked to her yesterday. I think we need to be more responsive to understand the frustration. I mean, I had the unenviable task of being in charge of hate crime during the COVID. And hate crime against Asian community gone up 500%. And it's not acceptable. So we have bail conditions, so why this person should be charged, why it is in the public interest for us to do what we do. And that's really important. So those two examples that there's light at the end of the tunnel, but we have to work together. That's why we need integrated services. And I totally get it. I mean, we can talk about this all you want, but I didn't come here to talk about this with you guys. I want to listen to what you need to get it done, and we have to make some effort to make sure we move the needle on this. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen. And also understand people don't feel safe. I know in Vancouver, stranger attacks gone down 50%, but people don't feel safer. I know here, not too far away, we had a homicide. A homeless person lost his life, and somebody lost a limb. And that person was interacted with police over 60 times. Why don't we catch the upstream issues and we don't have to wait 60 times for the police to get involved? Or another incident at 7-Eleven, we know that person, and why do we have to? The police cannot make him feel better mentally. That's why this government instituted secure care. It's not about invading people's privacy and freedom. You know, it's about protecting the public. When you're acting in a manner that's endanger yourself and others, and you're suffering from mental illness, and you can't make the decision, you're out there, and you commit violent crimes, you have a tendency to do that, then we need secure care to help some of the people to get better, and not jail, not leave them on the streets for another 2 years so it can get worse, and then we come back and be a policing issue, because it's not just a policing issue. We cannot police our way out of the issues we're facing today. So we need a joint approach, and obviously that's not going to be possible without people like yourself here. I'm encouraged you spend your Thursday morning with us. And we are all concerned about crime, violence, and hate, because I live in the city. I get it. And it's not just happening, as I heard from an earlier panel, around our city. It's happening across this country, happening around the world. I used to live in Los Angeles, it's the same thing. But how do we get here? Toxicity of the drugs that we see, and the people's being neglected when they don't have the resources for their mental health and drug addiction. It's easy to say, just say no, just don't do drugs tomorrow. It's not that simple. As a government, we have the responsibility to provide the necessary resources for them to get better, and then to also, in turn, later on, provide housing so they have a place to go. Displacing from one area to the city to another area, this becomes just passing buck along. And we need to do better than that, and we recognize that. That's why, for the first time in this province, we have a community safety cabinet committee, which I'm a part of, to make sure that we prioritize public safety, because we heard loud and clear from many of us that this is important to us. Also want to give kudos to, obviously, my past employee, BPD, for always keeping us safe at night. And also the Deputy Commissioner, RCMP, with the great job of Falkland, BC, interacting sophisticated drug super lab that prevented potentially 95 million doses of fentanyl that will kill people on the streets. Just the amount of lives were lost just with the drug supply, the toxic drug supply, is heartbreaking. They just don't happen to one group of people who are homeless. It happens to many, many people who are like us. And that is not acceptable. One is one too many. For the first responders here, that we had the unfortunate duty to inform family members that your family member died, I never forget any one of those. I've done 8 to 10 of those, and they always live in my memory. And one is one too many. Some good news, obviously. My colleague, Ministry of Health, announced 26 new publicly funded treatment beds for recoveries. And today, so far, there are over 3,700 beds in the province of BC. It's not enough. So we're going to actually prioritize secure care and make sure more of them are going to be online to address the issues we face. Obviously, not just about finding a facility and bed. We need the healthcare, the health resources and the back end of it to make sure people are not just showing up to a place without the necessary prescribed treatment. And we also have to double down on programs that work. I'm going to use some BPD examples. The province has created a SITE program. Some of you might know about that. It's Special Investigation and Target Enforcement. And the BPD has received over $2 million today. And we're working on programs like CAR 87, a partnership with a police officer and mental health nurse. We also worked on ACT program to have people that might even like getting worse in the community, the assertive community team, that might be suffering from mental illness. So we can negate that from upstream before they actually end up on the streets and be violent and have to be dealt with by just law enforcement alone. That's not the best answer. I can tell you, none of the people I work with want to go to work and apply lethal force to anyone at all whatsoever. We should not be there every day. Should not be asking our first responder to do that. We should provide them better resources for that. We have to work closely with enforcement, social services, and other government to tackle crime heads on, and that's start from you. I'm really encouraged that we're here today to listen, because at the end of the day, I talk to my colleagues in the House, we want the same outcome. Nobody wants this to go on forever. It's not about this, that, who can do more. We can all do more. That's a no-brainer for me. In BC, we deserve a place we can call home. We want a decent job. We want to grow the economy. We want to be able to afford housing. You don't want to be the person that got evicted from your basement suite and can't afford to live on housing. We need good quality healthcare, and addiction needs healthcare resources. BC is one of the best places to work. I was an immigrant. I'm actually from Hong Kong originally, and I chose this place to be my home for a reason, to pursue our dreams that today, somebody like me in the poor can't even vote, can sit at a cabinet table and have voices heard. I think that is the kind of government in the city we aspire to be. That's why I'm here. I'll commit to you that, public safety is important to me, public safety is important to my ministry, and public safety is important to your government. And you have my word that we're going to do everything we can to work with you. You know where to find me, and I hope we're going to move the needle and make us all safer, because that's what we want to do. Thank you.
Minister, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for your words. And thank you for the work you've agreed to do on behalf of our province and communities across the province. And a personal note from me, thanks for reaching out and the discussions we've had already. Really appreciate that. To say that all the eyes are on you, the Premier, the Solicitor General, the Minister of Health, would be an understatement. And for our sakes, we wish you every success. And that includes reaching out to us anytime that we can help. SOS, that's why we're together. So thanks again, Terry.